What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, did I just crack my knuckle in the middle of that intro? That was really bizarre. Welcome back to my channel, guys. If you're new, my name is Alatorre, and I am creating or recreating my first ever celebrity inspired look today, and it is none other than my absolute favorite person in this entire world, aside from Kyle and MEEKA. Where's this intro going? I am recreating Lady Gaga's look from this year's Golden Globes. I just absolutely love her. I've been a diehard fan ever since Just Dance, which is my favorite song. I think she's just like an incredible human being. And the moment I saw her on that red carpet in head-to-toe periwinkle, I knew how to recreate this look. So I'm gonna be recreating the look that Sarah Tano did on Lady Gaga. If you guys aren't aware of Sarah Tano, she's Gaga's makeup artist. She's also a Marc Beauty makeup artist. So she used a lot of Marc Beauty products on Gaga. I genuinely love Marc Beauty. I think I've talked about it in the past. Their products sort of just speak for themselves. They're great quality, and I had a lot of the products that she did use on Gaga, so this is almost like an exact replica. But what I'm most excited about is the fact that Sarah used one of the See-quins eyeshadows on Gaga for her look. This has to be one of my current favorite products out there right now, not just from Marc Beauty. The amount of glitter packed into these really gives such a beautiful pop to any makeup look. They're stunning. I've done enough rambling. Let's get into today's video. I'm just super excited that this is the Gaga makeup look. Okay, let's get right into it. I don't know what you guys focus on the most when watching a red carpet in terms of makeup. I don't know if you look at the eyes or the lip color. For me, it's the skin. I always look, that sounded like a fart, but it's the chair. The skin always looks impeccable in all these celebrities. It doesn't even look like they're wearing foundation. And I'm really big on skin looking like skin. I almost want to create a series just on skin, testing out foundations and combos that have you looking like you're not wearing any makeup at all, because I think skin is so important. If your skin looks good, everything else looks good. And I think that is something that is very obvious on the red carpet. So I'm gonna show you guys this little cocktail I created to give a very skin-like finish. I'm gonna be using the Marc Jacobs Shameless foundation. I'm gonna stick to a lot of the products that Sarah Tano used on Lady Gaga because she did list everything, and I wanted to see if using the same products or if I could recreate the look easily using the same products. I think I'm gonna use shade Y270, but this is the little cocktail I'm gonna create. I'm going to mix less of the foundation and more of the Marc Jacobs Invisible Undercover Primer, Coconut Primer, as well as the Do You Dewdrops in the original color, shade 50, not the one from the Rose Gold collection. So we're gonna do 1 or 2 pumps of primer on the back of the hand, 1 pump of the dewdrops, and then of the 3, we're gonna do the least amount of foundation, just like that. So you basically want enough foundation or enough of this cocktail to even out your skin tone, not necessarily cover up the skin. It's gonna cover the skin a bit, obviously, because you're applying foundation, but you don't wanna layer it on. I'm gonna take a kabuki brush. This one is from, I feel like I just went cross-eyed just then. This is the IT Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe Complexion Perfection brush, number 7. I'm gonna swirl all these together. And once you see all 3 products have been blended in together really well, I'm gonna go ahead and buff this cocktail onto the skin. And again, the whole purpose of this is to create an even skin tone, not necessarily cover up imperfections. So I have 2 really big pimples that decided to pop up this morning. So I'm gonna show you how you would build foundation coverage to cover that up versus going in really heavy from the start. And I'm also gonna be using an eyeliner as an eyeshadow base. So I'm only gonna apply a little bit of this cocktail to the brow bone, not necessarily the entire eyelid. And once I've gotten a good layer on, covered the entire face, I'm gonna take my beauty blender and blend out any brush streaks, because if I only use a brush, I always have some streakage where you can see the brush strokes on certain parts of the face. So I always like to go in with the beauty blender and further pat it in, blend it out. And then to cover up these blemishes without using a concealer, I'm gonna take a little more of the foundation without mixing it with anything else. I'm gonna pick it up on the beauty blender. And then I'm going to apply or layer on the foundation on the areas that need a little more coverage, like right here. And on this blemish, maybe the cheeks a little bit, but not cover the entire face with this foundation, just anywhere where you need a little more coverage. And you see everything is still looking really natural, still like skin. The only additional concealer I'm gonna use is underneath the eyes, because we can all use a little help, a little extra help underneath the eyes. And I've been loving this Charlotte Tilbury Magic Away liquid concealer. I feel like it's got a similar finish to Shape Tape, but not as drying, and it has a really, really great coverage to the point where I don't need a separate under eye corrector or brightener. I feel like it gets a little messy though right here around where the lid goes, but it is a great concealer. So I'm gonna go ahead and only apply concealer underneath the eyes right here. Almost like it's like an upside down triangle, so just under here. I'm not necessarily going to highlight the face except for this area. It always looks so much better when you do this trick with concealer versus just going directly underneath the eyes. You create this upside down triangle. I applied it directly to the skin and then taking the Beauty Blender to blend it out. And again, I didn't apply that concealer to the eyelids, still leaving them bare for the eyeshadow. And now to set everything, I'm gonna be using the Marc Jacobs Finish Line setting powder. I had forgotten about this. I really like this powder. It's more so, it doesn't feel as drying as other setting powders. So with a matte foundation, I feel like it just balances everything out and keeps everything very natural looking. The only thing I wish is, I wish it didn't have this little net. I feel like it makes it really hard to dip something like your Beauty Blender into it, which I like to do for underneath the eyes, but it's still a good powder. I would remove this if I think I can remove this actually. We're gonna try that a different time. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the under eyes by pressing the powder in with a Beauty Blender and then tapping it on everywhere else with a large fluffy brush. And then in between each powder application, so powder, bronzer, blush, I like to mist myself with a setting spray. I find that it prolongs the wear of my makeup and really sinks everything in. So very, very light mist, not like how you would mist yourself at the end of your makeup, just a very light spray, like just like that. Don't get carried away because you don't want the skin to be really wet and really moist because it's gonna be hard to blend out your blush and your bronzer. So now I'm gonna go into bronzer. I'm gonna be using the Marc Jacobs Tan-Tastic bronzer, one of my all-time fave products. I also just love the packaging, this mirror. It's like my go-to whenever I travel. I bring this bronzer because it makes it so easy. But I'm gonna be using this Smashbox buildable cheek brush. A lot of you guys always ask about this brush. I don't know, the shape of it is very, very unique and it tends to just work very well for bronzers. So I'm gonna go ahead and lightly apply this bronzer because you can easily go heavy-handed with it. So I'm gonna lightly build on it and then maybe add more towards the end if I feel like I need more. And I always apply my bronzer in a light patting motion. I don't swipe it back and forth because I feel like it can also shift around the foundation. So I do a very light pat and sweep motion. Very gentle on the skin. And then again, I'm gonna very, very lightly just mist myself and move on to the eyes, which I'm super excited about because I've never done anything periwinkle. I never liked periwinkle. I thought it was a weird color. Then Lady Gaga wore periwinkle. Now I love periwinkle. That's just how the world works. So let's move on to the eyes. I wasn't gonna fill in my brows on camera and then I thought, what the heck, why not? Because you'll probably have questions about how I filled them in. So I'm gonna be using this NARS Brow Perfector in the shade Naïa, I believe it's pronounced, medium cool brown. And I always like to start by filling in my brows up top, so I brush the hairs down. I start by building the arch. I then brush the hairs back up and fill in whatever needs to be filled in on the bottom. I feel like Lady Gaga had really bold brows, and I really love that about her. I feel like her brows are always super, super bold. So don't be afraid to go a little darker with your brows if you want to create her exact look. Before I go into eyeshadow, I'm gonna take a little bit of that same Marc Jacobs Finish Line powder, and I'm gonna dust the brow bone down to the crease just to make blending a lot easier because Sarah did use a shimmery shadow in the crease and we want to be able to blend it out really nicely so that the shimmer doesn't just like stick to one area. I've encountered that problem with shimmery eyeshadows in the crease, and it is possible. Don't be afraid of shimmer in the crease. If you blend it out right, it looks really, really nice. So I'm gonna take an eyeshadow brush and just lightly dust from the brow bone down to the crease, but again, we're gonna use an eyeliner as the base on the lids, so we want to keep that area free of any product so that it doesn't kind of like mesh all together with all the other products we're applying around the eyes. And then for the eyeshadow palette that she used one of the iconic eyeshadow palettes. This one is called Frivoluxe, not Frivolous, Frivoluxe, just like that. And in the article I read, she said that the main colors she used were Dress and How You Want. And these are the two colors that we're gonna be using from this palette. So Dress and How You Want are these two right here. And she says she kind of just mixed them together and created a smoky effect on the eyes without too much dimension, which I love dimension, so I'm gonna try to not do a lot of dimension, but I might add some more if I feel weird about it. So I'm using a Smith 232 eyeshadow brush, and I'm gonna start applying these two colors mixed together into the crease. Start by building slowly with the shimmery shadow. Don't go in too heavy right off the bat because, again, you want the shadow to blend out really seamlessly. And with shimmery shadows, you really want to build on that if you're applying them to the crease. And then to help further blend it out and not add any additional color, I'm taking a clean blending brush, so the same one, Smith 232, and just really buffing this out. And then with a smaller brush, I'm picking up those same two shadows and applying it to the lower lash line. And with a smaller blending brush, I'm just gonna really diffuse that out so it doesn't look so strong on the lower lash line. Now, this is the part of the entire makeup look that I found so fascinating, and this is where I really admire Sarah Tano's artistry, because I would have never thought to use this eyeliner to create that periwinkle color. She used the Marc Jacobs highliner in the shade Out of the Blue as a base. And there's so many other Marc Jacobs highliners that are lighter shades of blue that look like the periwinkle, but she chose this one with the Marc Jacobs See-quins eyeshadow in the shade Flashlight. I have been raving about these. I absolutely love them. They look so good on their own. And this combo with the blue liner just looks so, so beautiful. So I'm gonna start by applying the blue liner close to the lash line, blending it up towards the crease. And to blend this out, I'm using an LH304 brush. It's synthetic. You definitely want a synthetic brush for this when working with creams, especially on the eyes, because there's a little tugging and pulling involved, and if you use a natural brush, it'll fall apart. So this brush I absolutely love, from Linda Hallberg. I think it works so good for cream products on the eye. So now with this look at how beautiful it is. Oh, the name Flashlight suits it so well. I just take my fingertip and I pick it up, but this can also have a lot of fallout. It's basically like very packed in glitter. So in order to prevent fallout, what I do is I pick it up with my finger, and then on a portion of my hand, I just kind of press it in so that way it's really tightly packed on my fingertip, and then I go ahead and apply it to the lid over the blue liner. Flipping you guys off, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to use my middle finger. It's just out of habit. I always use my middle finger. I'm so sorry. But look at that, just like magic, you have a beautiful periwinkle color on the lid. And with this eyeshadow, you will get some fallout, some glitter fallout on the face. I like the way it looks on the skin. I think it looks kind of cool, but if you don't like it, just take a little spoolie brush and lightly, very lightly, so you don't mess up your foundation. I just kind of like flick it off just like that. And then once I've got that shadow on there, I'm gonna take my blending brush and blend out the edge one more time so it looks softly diffused into that darker purple eyeshadow. And then I'm also gonna be applying Flashlight to the inner corner. I'm gonna pick it up on a small detail brush. This is a Morphe M213, and I'm gonna mist it so that way it sticks to that inner corner, it doesn't go everywhere else. And to mist it, I'm just using that same Urban Decay setting spray and then applying it to the inner corner. I'm gonna make sure I have a little smudge brush on hand, and I'm gonna take this black highliner from Marc Jacobs in Blaquer and apply it really, really close to the lash line. And then I'm also gonna smudge it out and tightline with this liner as well. I also like to add just a little bit out here so it looks a little more connected, but not everywhere else on the lower waterline. All right, and that is it for the eyes, and I'm just gonna top it off with one of my top 5 favorite mascaras, Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir. Whew, that felt like I spent 1,000 hours on just the eyes, so I'm ready to wrap up this look by just adding a highlight, blush, and a lip. But first I'm gonna powder down the areas that are looking a little shiny. So I'm gonna go back in with that Marc Jacobs powder and this brush that I've really been loving for powder touch-ups. It's called the Pro Featherweight Blending Brush, I think brush number 93 by Sephora. It just lightly touches the skin and it works so perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and dip the brush directly into the powder and then just lightly touch up the areas that look a little shiny. I will say with this powder, I feel like the shine comes back a lot faster because it's more so a hydrating powder. So if you're oily, this might not be the powder for you. For blush, I was gonna use Flesh and Fantasy by Marc Jacobs, one of my all-time favorite nude blushes. However, I broke another one. Those guys are really fragile and I've gone through 2 or 3 of them. Instead, I'm gonna be using this Prism Blush by MAC, which is also very neutral. Sarah Tano in her article said that she kept everything else very, very subtle because she wanted the eyes to pop. So neutral nude cheeks and lip. I'm gonna go ahead and apply this blush. This, by the way, is a Luxie 522 brush. I have other Luxie 522 brushes, but the reason I like this one so much is because it's been worn in and it's extra fluffy. Doesn't come like this. For highlight, I'm gonna go back in with the Marc Jacobs Dew Drops. I'm going to place a little on the back of my hand and then lightly tap it in with a beauty blender. When doing liquid over powder, you wanna be really gentle so that you don't move everything around. And I think a patting motion, especially a beauty blender, works best because it doesn't shift anything else around that you're wearing underneath the liquid highlight. And then this gorgeous nude, oh, it's like the perfect nude. Like zoomed in all the way on her face. That Gaga was wearing was a combo of the Marc Jacobs New Nudes in Moody Margot and Enamored Lip Lacquer in Sugar Sugar. I don't have the lipstick, but I do have this lip liner that is always my go-to. Stark Naked 24/7 Glide On Lip Pencil by Urban Decay. It's my go-to for a neutral nude lip. And I do have Sugar Sugar, so I'm gonna go ahead and apply that as my lip combo and conclude this look. And that is a wrap on this Lady Gaga Golden Globes 2019 recreation done by Seratano. What if she sees this? I'm gonna put that onto the universe. Dreams do come true, guys. I've done so much rambling in this video. I'm gonna wrap it up right here, right now. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.